Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Well, this is a new one. I put a video up a little while ago, posted it to YouTube, put it up, and after I posted it on YouTube, I noticed I needed to make another edit. And you can edit on YouTube after a video's gone up, but it's kind of a clunky process. And I do it occasionally, but not very often. I mean, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And I went in and I made an edit, and I went and checked it, and it looked fine, and the edit takes a little while to go through. And then here we are, almost 4 hours after the video went up, and about 2 hours after I made the edit, and I'm getting notes from people saying, Steve, there's a chunk of your video now missing. Now, the end is missing, and the end isn't the part I edited. So I'm going to have to remove that video and re-upload the video. And what you're watching right now is the introduction to the video. So if you saw the video yesterday about the FAA, don't watch this video. If you started watching it and saw a chunk that was missing, you may want to watch the rest of this. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, watch the video. But I apologize. This is the first time in the history of my channel, I think, where I've actually taken a video down and re-uploaded it. And I apologize. You know, some people would say, Steve, I saw this video yesterday. What are you doing here again? Stop this. I'm sorry. Like I said, very unusual experience. Now, on to the show. Had several people send me a story a while back, and I didn't do it yet because I was waiting for more to come out, and now more's come out. And so we're talking about an airplane crash that was in the news back in, I think, December. And now the FAA has made an announcement. So the story's from the New York Times. Several people sent it. Eduardo Medina wrote it. A YouTuber purposely crashed his plane in California, the FAA says. So according to the FAA, the plane crash was a stunt for YouTube. The video from December shows the man cursing in panic before leaping with a parachute out of a small plane. Good thing he's wearing a parachute. Some experts have wondered if the crash was a publicity stunt. And of course, now the FAA is saying that that's what they think it is. They think he purposely abandoned the aircraft and allowed it to crash into the Los Padres National Forest in Southern California. In a letter to the man sent on April 11th, the FAA said that he had violated federal aviation regulations and operated a single-engine plane in a careless or reckless manner so as to endanger the life or property of another. And now, you might think, but Steve, if he bails out of the plane above a national forest, plane didn't hit anybody, and that's just federal government land, and a national forest belongs to all of us. What's the problem here? Well, he's endangering the life or property of another, according to them. And the property of another would include trees in a forest. The agency said it would immediately revoke his private pilot certificate, effectively ending his permission to operate any aircraft. Reached by email on Wednesday, the man appeared unaware of the FAA's ruling and replied, "Where'd you get that information?" Check your mailbox, my friend. He did not immediately respond to follow-up emails. In a video posted on his YouTube channel last week, the man briefly addressed the airplane controversy, saying, "I can't talk about it per my attorney. But the truth of that situation will come out with time," he said, "and I'll leave it at that." It says here he's got more than 100,000 subscribers. Wow. The FAA does not have the ability to prosecute. It can only revoke and suspend certificates and issue fines. The agency ordered the man to surrender his private pilot certificate and said he could face further legal enforcement action if he did not do so, including a civil penalty of up to $1,644 for each day that he did not return it. So it's not enough they tell him it's revoked. He's got to actually turn it in. A spokesperson for the Transportation Department's Office of Inspector General said in a statement that the agency, which oversees the FAA, could neither confirm nor deny the existence of an investigation into the flight, which took place on November 24th. The flight was actually in November. I thought it was December, but maybe that's when the video came out. A 13-minute video of the crash was titled, "I Crashed My Plane." It has more than 1.7 million views. It shows the man piloting a small 1940 Taylor-craft plane with several cameras attached, recording the sweeping views of the forest. Now, I would have suggested that "I crashed my plane," although nicely put into the active voice, he could have better worded it and said, "My plane crashed." And if he'd said that, it wouldn't read like a confession, but it does say, apparently, at least it did, "I crashed my plane." So the man said in a statement back then he had flown that day to spread the ashes of his best friend over the top of the Sierra Nevada mountain. That man died in 2015 while base jumping, which is an extreme sport in which people parachute from a fixed object or structure such as a cliff. In the video, the man unleashes a flurry of expletives when the propeller stops spinning. He opens the door and jumps out with a parachute, abandoning the plane as he descends towards the forest, a selfie stick in hand to record it all. Again, just luckily wearing a parachute and having GoPro cameras all over the place. I'm just so happy to be alive, he says, after landing in prickly brush. He documented his hike through the forest, which he says in the video lasted about 6 hours until a farmer found him at dusk. Earlier, he had located the wrecked, mangled plane in a thicket of dried shrubs, and they mentioned that there were cameras on the plane. I wonder if he recovered those. Almost immediately after he posted the video on Christmas Eve, viewers and aviation experts expressed doubts over the portrayal of the crash. Some said it was orchestrated for views and likes, and several steps that the man took, such as wearing a parachute, saying that was evidence of a preconceived publicity stunt. I've flown in small planes many, many times. Never worn a parachute while doing it. I know pilots who own small planes, and I know pilots who fly small planes they do not own. Never known a single one of them to be wearing a parachute when doing it. So maybe it's just a different thing going on out there in California. Meanwhile, the man has turned off the comments for the video. The FAA agreed about the parachute in its letter, which it released in response to a request from the New York Times, and pointed out other revealing details that officials had uncovered during the investigation. During his flight, you opened the left side pilot door before you said the engine had failed, the FAA said. Before jumping out of the plane, the agency also said that he made no attempt to contact air traffic control on the emergency frequency, did not try to restart the engine by increasing airflow over the prop, and failed to look for a place to safely land, even though there were multiple areas within gliding range in which you could have made a safe landing. And again, I know there are pilots in the audience. I'm going to try to explain this so as not to insult them, but to educate the others who might not know this. But if you're in a small plane, most small planes, and you're way, way up here, and you lose power, your engine dies for whatever reason. Your engine, you run out of fuel, okay? You literally ran out of gas. You look down and the gas tank is on E. It's pegged to the E, okay? You have a glide ratio that you can glide, and you will know what that is if you're a pilot, because it's one of the things that they beat into your heads when you're learning to fly, is how far you can fly and how long you can stay in the air from any given altitude, roughly based on conditions. So if you're up here and you run out of gas, you've got time to figure out what to do. And a small plane like this, you don't need LAX to land this thing. You can land it a bunch of different places. But you also don't have to panic just because your engine died. And anybody who's a certified pilot would know that. So your engine dies and you go, oh, hang on a second. And please, I'm not making this up. I've been flying with somebody before on an airplane that had dual tanks. And one of the tanks ran out. And the pilot hadn't noticed it. And the engine died. And I looked over at him. He glanced down. He goes, oops. And he flipped the switch and fired the plane right back up again. Okay? So the idea that your engine dies and you panic and jump out of the plane is a little bit over the top. And so the FAA is asking rhetorically, there's things you didn't do. And anybody who's a pilot or has flown in a small plane knows that you got a radio on board, and unless that malfunctioned also. And you can speak to air traffic and tell them, I'm having an emergency, here's what I'm doing, here's what I've done. And, there's a chance you could call them and go, I'm having an emergency. And if they've got you on the radar, they can tell you, oh, by the way, you can put the plane down over here. Do you think you can reach that? Remember Sully talking to air traffic control? And he starts asking about alternate places to land. He's got like 10 seconds to make a decision. This guy had more time than that. So after the crash, the man also recovered and then disposed of the wreckage, the FAA said. The FAA wrote, you demonstrated a lack of care, judgment, and responsibility by choosing to jump out of an aircraft solely so you could record the footage of the crash. Your egregious and intentional actions on these dates indicate that you presently lack the degree of care, judgment, and responsibility required of a certificate holder. And that's the end of the quote. So that's the FAA and their accusations. I'm curious to know about the disposal of the wreckage. There's all kinds of things that go into why an airplane crashed. The idea that your engine stalls, bail out. I'm not a pilot, and even I know that. So, again, these are not my opinions. This is the FAA and their opinions. But a lot of people were saying this when he first put the video up. But now it's official. And the story is in the New York Times. Eduardo Medina wrote it. Chris, Darren, Matt, Sean, and Robert all sent it to me. According to the FAA, a YouTuber purposely crashed his plane in California, and they're saying that he did it to get clicks on YouTube, if you can imagine that. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. We should be choosing what we want to keep, not what we want to get rid of.